Well, welcome everybody to week 4 of our October online program for the alumni of the Sunshine Coast Health Center up here in beautiful Powell River, BC. And this month, we're just giving you some information that we've heard from the alumni. Maybe one of you talking to us or listening to this. And these are the alumni who have been struggling. And again, most of the alumni are doing pretty good. But some of the alumni are really struggling. Maybe they've had a slip or something. And so we always, and we want to hear from you, by the way, too. That's very important. Please don't feel, oh, I've let someone down or I'm embarrassed. No, it is what it is, right? It's more important for us to know about this stuff. At any rate, so we talked to these people who give us a call or email us and talking about their slips and trying to figure out what it is that happened to them. So we've been taking some common themes, and one of the common themes that we always hear is, oh man, yeah, I was so stressed out. And then you can fill in the cause, either my partner or my work, or I was in a car accident, or something happened. Something happened that really stressed me out. I just couldn't handle it, and I needed to get loaded. Right? That's a fairly common one we hear. And this idea that some clients have of, I'll be okay in recovery as long as I don't get stressed out. Because I have noticed in my history, whenever I'm stressed, that's when I use the drugs. So my plan in recovery is to go out there and sort of organize my life so I don't get stressed out. And that may not be the greatest plan of all, because human beings tend to get stressed out, and it's just a fact of being human. I mean, you cannot control life enough not to get stressed out. So if your plan is never to get stressed out, it's a guaranteed you're going to be pretty much doomed, because everyone I've ever known in recovery has had really bad days and sometimes bad weeks and bad months. And how on earth are you going to make it through there with all this stress if your belief is, oh, whatever I have to do is not get stressed? I don't know, you're going to be doing a lot of breathing exercises or something. So this idea of going into recovery, planning how not to get stressed out, is generally going to backfire, because something is going to happen in life that's going to stress you out. And this link between stress and addiction or drug use is really quite fascinating. I don't know if you remember the workshop that we hold at Sunshine Coast on how to look at stress in your life. On the one hand, you get the mainstream psychology thing is to say, oh, here's a test, here's a bunch of stressors, like a divorce or death in the family or accident, and then you check them all off, and then they have little scores beside, and then you add up all the scores, and then you come to some kind of final stress score that tells you how stressed out you are. So that's the typical stress test. But the way we interpret it at Sunshine Coast is more along the lines of this guy, Anton Antonovsky, if you remember him, where it's not so much all these individual stressors that are important, it's how you make sense of them. Can you make sense of them? This is why people who have tremendous stressors in their life, like I gave you that example of Ian Harrod, right? This fellow that I cleaned up with. This fellow I knew worked at a big treatment center, and he said he always had a smile on his face. In fact, there's a plaque at him in the other treatment center with his favorite saying, "Have yourself a great day if you so choose." Because in his life, he had all sorts of medical problems, had no connection with family, had been married and divorced 3 times, had kids he'd never met. He had lots of stressors in his life, and yet he was able to go through life with a smile and to put in all this energy helping others. It wasn't the individual stressors at all that had any real meaning to him. It was because he could make sense of things, right? He could make sense of his addiction. He could make sense of his life. That's how he could handle all these stressors. On the other hand, this famous guy, Anton Antonovsky, said that if you can't make sense of anything, then even a single stressor can drive you up the wall. So it wasn't so much the number of stressors as it was, how did you make sense of your life? And if you could make sense of your life, then the stressors didn't have that much power over you. Right? So it's interesting, eh? But that's a very good lesson, like when you get out of here, to look at life. Can you make sense of your life? Because if you can't, then any stressor is going to get you. If you have a bad day, maybe if you have a bad 5 minutes, and you're all stressed out. I mean, in theory, if your belief is, I need to have no stress in my life to stay clean and sober, then you have 5 minutes of a bad time. That may plunge you back into addiction, right? So, anyway, just another one of those things we've noticed from talking to the alumni, what they tell us about when they run into trouble. These ideas that, well, maybe are not all that useful for good recovery. And perhaps, yeah, things to think about, right? Anyway, that's our October online program, and we'll see you back next month with the November one.